Hey everybody, what is going on? HexLex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So coming at you with Crystron again. We recently saw Toadette play Crystron in the last viewer special, and that really got me inspired to try this deck again. I really liked Crystron when I played it a little bit before Malice came out. Was having a blast with this deck. The release of Malice and the subsequent insurgence of Lancia into the meta did make me feel a little bit discouraged to trying this deck out, and I think that's true of a lot of people. I think Crystron kind of fell off in popularity as a result, but I will say that Crystron definitely is not as vulnerable to Lancia as Malice, and this is something that, again, Toadette was talking about on the server. Again, huge shout out to Toadette for just kind of reminding me that Crystron existed and it's still good, because she even hit Master 1 with it. Which I say even as if that were a surprise. It's really not. I think this is still definitely one of the better decks in the meta. Definitely an upper tier 2 deck, and you could even make an argument for this still being tier 1. So, while Lancia does hurt Crystron, of course, because Smyger wants to be banished, Thistfern wants to be banished, and I believe Sulfador has a banish effect? No. Is it really just those two? I thought, is it Sulfanier? Oh, it's Inclusion, duh. Of course, Inclusion also has a banish effect. So while you're under Lancia, you're not going to be able to use any of those, and Smyger and Thistfern aren't always the biggest deal. It's usually the Inclusion lack of being able to banish for this that typically hurts, but we still have things to do within the Crystron engine without being able to banish, namely Tristaros, and I'm really still debating if I want to craft a third copy of this card, because I think this meta in particular would be a good time to play 3 Tristaros, right? The card is just very good in a vacuum, but if you get Lancia'd, normal 7 Tristaros pass is not a bad play at all, especially if you've got like a hand trap or two to back it up. I've won a fair number of Crystron games just opening Tristaros plus 2 or 3 hand traps, and that's definitely enough to get you there. So not only do you inherently have just a great standalone card to play with under Lancia, but Sulfanier and Sulfador, neither of those require banishing to set up. Furthermore, neither does your Millennium engine, which means if nothing else, you could potentially still set up like a number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord for negates, right? It's not just that our main core deck of Crystron has stuff to do without banishing. We also play a very powerful engine that assists in that as well. So, yeah, in addition to our hand traps, of course, we also get to play a set of droplets. So the reason, by the way, I didn't make this a build and play, even though I am about to play some live games, I didn't build the deck on screen because, in my opinion, I think Millennium Crystron is a very solved deck, and I don't think there's much merit to building it on screen. Now, what do I mean by solved? Well, a solved deck means that, with the exception of, what hand traps you want to play, generally speaking, how you build the deck is going to be the same just about every single time. I think the biggest thing in Crystron that's kind of up for debate is, if I could spell the name right, is how worth it the turtle is to play. I haven't played with it myself. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't really think I'd rather play another hand trap, I think, before the turtle. Not a bad card, but certainly not one that's needed. But that's like, I think the biggest debate point is if the turtle's worth playing or not. But like, if you look at the extra deck here, I think the extra deck is going to be built this way with exactly these 15 cards, like pretty much every single time. You could maybe pick some other level 5 synchros or another level 7, right? But I think Excel Synchron and Samurai Destroyer are probably just going to be some of your best targets in either of those categories, and the rest of the extra deck here is pretty much locked in, right, of stuff you have to play, at least for the Millennium variant, with stuff like the Doom Dragon, and the Zombie Vamp and the number 90. If you're not playing Millennium, you do get some more extra deck and main deck slots, but I think that Millennium is just by far the most optimal way to play this deck in the current Master Duel metagame. So, as far as my choice of hand traps goes, I wanted to try out a couple of singletons here, just to kind of see how good they are in this meta. Ghost Spell obviously has a lot of uses against Malice, but Ghost Ogre I think is still really good in this meta. There's still a lot of Blue Eyes running around, and still has uses against Malice, hitting cards like the Field Spell if they open with that, or Splash Mage potentially, right? So yeah, I think that again, with the exception of like a couple of these hand traps, Millennium Crystron lists are pretty much going to look exactly like this, almost card for card. I guess Droplet's pretty optional too, but I kind of like having access to Droplet. It's also just good inherently in this deck for sending stuff like Smyger and Thistfern that are in your hand to the graveyard, right? Same with like Sulfador too. You can send a Sulfador and summon it back with its effect, so yeah, I like it. Okay. Like I said, even though it's not a build and play, I am about to just hop into some live games here. So let's see what we've got for this first one. All right, we're going second. We played 12 hand traps and 3 board breakers, so hopefully that'll be enough to get us there. Now, I haven't played Crystron in about a month, so hopefully I still remember the lines. They're fairly simple. Okay, this is the exact kind of hand that makes Droplet feel pretty good. We have the Smyger and the Fistfern to send off of it, so that's a pretty good sign. Got an Ash Blossom here. Let's see what our opponent does. Cash Tira Rise Heart, eh? Okay. Banishing Unicorn, banishing Droplet Inclusion Ash from us. That's totally fine. Don't care about any of those. Set 1, set 2, set 3. That it? And then Zombie World. Other players contribute. All monsters in the field and graveyard become zombies. That affects Clockwork Knight. And I don't think it affects Cyber Dragon too, but I don't think it affects a ton else. Yeah, the Crystrons are all generic, so that's not that big of a deal. Okay. But it does mean I can't normal summon Smyger and then link it off for Clockwork Knight, which means I do have to use Droplet, which is fine. That's not that big of a deal either. Okay. Macrocosmos. Okay, I am going to chain Droplet, send Smyger. Okay. Macro's unfortunate, but maybe we can work with this. What is this Fistfern's attack? 1500? Okay. I'd like to get Tristaros online, so let's start with Smyger and see if this goes through. Okay, so we can search Inclusion, and we could Inclusion add Tristaros. It would give us, like, something to do if they have a face down that activates here. Maybe I'll search something else, though. Let me see what all we got here. So, yeah, that'll just be good if they activate something. Put it in your hand or graveyard, target Crystron you control, destroy it, and then send 2. So that's not really good here. Yeah, I think it's just Tristaros here. Can even battle over the Rise Heart with the Tristaros, which works out very well for us. Here's hoping they don't activate a, like, Tickaboo or something. Solemn Warning. That's rough. Okay. Is there even a point to setting Droplet if we can't use it? Neither player can banish cards. Yes, there is, actually. Okay. But don't I have to send this to the graveyard to do that? No, distribute it. Okay. Into the main phase. They're just going to battle. That's fine. Let me think for a second. So if I go end phase Lancia, and then Droplet send Fistfern on Rise Heart, I would be doing all that to set up Fistfern in my graveyard. But what does that actually get me? Anything worth it? Not really, because Tristaros can't then battle over it. I don't think I'm going to use Lancia here. I think I'm going to save it for a future turn. I might just crash Fistfern into Rise Heart here. See what we top deck. Wedju Temple. That's a really good top deck. Cool. Alright, let's do that. But what am I going to put in the spell trap zone? Maybe nothing, because we're either about to use a counter trap. Should I have normal summoned to Fistfern before activating Wedju Temple? I think I should have. That would have procced Solemn Judgment, probably from our opponent. Yeah, that would have been way smarter. I should have done that. They're really thinking here. Okay, but they let it go through. But they really thought about that. I think they have a Solemn Judgment face down. Isn't that fine if they do? Normally, if I thought it was stun, I'd just slam put Ash in the spell trap, but if they have Kashtira stuff, they could have, like, Theosis. I guess it's just Lancia, right? My droplet won't be online, but I don't know how worth it is, a droplet like that in this scenario. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, they can't Solemn Judgment of Sengenjin effect, which is pretty good for me, obviously. They could could they Sengenjin a, or I mean Solemn Judgment a Snake Eyes Doom Dragon summon? I actually don't know. Oh, I can't because Macrocosmos, I can't even summon it. Okay, that's fine. I don't play any 11s or 9. No, I do play a 9, but it requires 2 tuners. So normal summoning Ash Blossom doesn't get me into any particular plays here. I really don't want to walk into a Mirror Force here. Do I think they have it? If I wanted to be extra safe, I could make Little Knight, and then if they have a Mirror Force, I could bounce out. I'm not OTKing them anyway, right? Yeah, I'm not OTKing them anyway. Cannot special summon from the extract for this to turn except machine synchros. I could. I could pop Vistvern for Tristaros. That would be a good response to Mirror Force. Would it actually? I think that's probably still worth it. Maybe I should battle first, though. No, I shouldn't battle first. I'm gonna activate this. Oh, I can destroy any card I control. It doesn't have to be... Right, of course. So, in that case, let's get rid of Wedgie Temple. I don't need that anymore. Now I can make Baron. Ooh. No, I can't. Never mind. Because I can only summon machines. Right. Of course. This is fine. We did just play a lot harder into that Mirror Force if they have it, but it doesn't look like they do. So we love seeing that, or rather not seeing that. I wonder if I could have lethaled them there if I'd played a little differently. Doesn't it? It feels like I could have. No, quick syncering doesn't do anything here. Because 5 plus 6, we don't play any 11s or anything, so. No, I don't think I could have lethal. Okay, well, we won either way. Ooh. That was a good first game. That was a nice... You know, sometimes I really appreciate having a duel more of that pace, as opposed to just like, all right, do my combos and or stop their combos. It really gets you thinking in like a different way, which I really appreciate. That was a good game. I want to see their deck, actually. I want to see, like, how much they were into Kashtira. Like, I basically want to see how... Okay, yeah, they were very heavy into Kashtira. I'm very... Ooh, Demise of the Land, too. Interesting. I'm glad I held that Ash Blossom, then. I think that was the right call. Cool. Alright, let's play at least one more game. At least one more. If it's like a... Obviously, if my opponent, like, concedes right away, I'll do another one afterward. Oh, we're waking up. How about that? Hopefully I get to Master by the end of the season. I might not. I have not been playing a lot at all. I might fall down to Plat. Okay, what do we got? We got a lot of stuff. Cool. Hopefully they don't have a max C. Okay. I said that because it looked like they got past priority for a second. Sometimes it's indicative of your opponent having max C, but it doesn't look like that was the case here. So this is gonna be... Actually, I could normal summon Tristaros here, because I'm gonna... Ooh, okay, so they're gonna drool me here. Yeah, I should have normal summoned Tristaros. Although, actually, now that's not necessarily... Well, I can't Smigger to add inclusion anyway. So, let me think for a second. So, normal summon Tristaros, Golem... I'm trying to think if there's a reason to play Golem here, or like normal summon Smyger at all. I kind of don't. I mean, we're always gonna do this. And then maybe just set Droplet pass? We're not making Baron. I think I'd rather have the Tristaros up, honestly. Actually, are we making Baron? Would I rather have the Tristaros up? Droplet plus Baron. You know what? This is tough. I think having Tristaros versus Baron is actually a lot closer than it seems. But I think I am going to make Baron here. There is an argument to keeping Tristaros around. Oh, it wants me to pop Baron to... No, I think that's fine. Because we can't add stuff. Yeah, that doesn't account... Well, let me think for a second. So... What does it summon? Just 2 Crystron monsters, right? So basically I would just be turning my Baron into a Nova, which is kind of pointless, so I'll just pass here. Or into an Infinity. Well, a Nova that becomes an Infinity, you know what I mean. Because, like, Sulfador would have sent 2, but it's not like I can... Yeah, they would be stuff like Smyger and Thisfer that I can't search off of anyway, so... Oh, it's Tempai. Interesting. Normal summon Pydra. Should I, Droplet or Baron? I should Droplet this, right? I feel like that makes more sense. It's my Smyger in the yard. Keeps my Omni instead of a card that only negates monster effects. I can negate a follow-up spell or trap card. Not that one, actually. Ooh. Well, that was like the one card I really didn't want to see. Dang. So if I chained Baron, then I could have chained Droplet. Yeah, that's rough. I should have thought about that more. If I had considered Droplet, then... Yeah, that would have been a little bit apparent. Like, Droplet was a reason to not do it in that order. I'm trying to think of a reason... Well, the reason to do it in that order was what I was saying, was that we're using Droplet against a monster on the field as opposed to saving Baron for... I was thinking they were going to have, like, Sangen Kaimen, or Sangen Summoning, or Shundra. But to be fair, all of those cards are limited, and the Droplet is at 3, so it's definitely more likely for them to have something like Droplet. I should have considered non-engine before engine. That's actually a misplay that I make quite a bit, honestly, when it comes to analyzing, you know, threats and stuff, is I tend to think of a deck's engine, and I don't consider the non-engine as often as I should. We're pretty cooked here, though. I don't really see us winning this game. Oh, they have Sangen Kaimen, too. Yeah, it's just Jover. So they had Sangen Kaimen as well, so... They had Kaimen, Droplet, and Pydra. So even if they'd gone normal summon Pydra, I go Baron to negate destroy. They chain Droplet, send the Pydra. Well, then that still would have all gone through. I would have just still had my Droplet. So then I could have still used Droplet, but they still would have had Sangen Kaimen. A well-timed Droplet in that scenario, though, I think if I had saved it for the battle phase too, well, I would have had to because of the field spell. Might have been enough. I only have 2 cards to send, though, is the thing. Maybe 3 if you count the Baron. Well, it would be 3 counting the Baron, which might be enough in that hypothetical scenario. Okay, so if I had used the Baron first, there is actually a world where I would have been able to avoid, even with all the stuff they have in hand, getting OTK'd. So that was my misplay this game. Okay. See, this is like, I don't know, this is the mindset I prefer to go into games. And just Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, this is kind of like... This is why I'm like so about the whole like people preferring to take their losses, or not even just their losses, but their successes, and the only thing they get out of it is complaining, right? Like, I try to lock myself into this mentality of like, the thing that I'm getting out of games, even unwinnable ones like this, is how I'm going to do better in the future. Because I think a lot of people would have like seen the Droplet and just conceded right there and not thought about this game at all. But I like sitting for a second and thinking about, like, okay, what if I just now done things differently? How would, like, could this game have been winnable? And I understand that a lot of people, if they figure out that a game was winnable and they threw it, that just makes them even more frustrated. But I really think if you're able to overcome that hurdle, it becomes a very valuable tool to be able to look at a game state that was, you know, figure out that a game state was winnable and acknowledge that and move past it, as opposed to, like, staying hung up over it, right? You know, and just getting upset and nothing else. But I understand that's also a very emotional thing. That's not, I'm not trying to, like, come down on anybody who has that issue. It's just that I think some people lean into it, and I don't think that's very productive. And it just doesn't tend to make people very pleasant to talk with. That's just my 2 cents, though. But at this point, I'll just let my opponent finish me off. I might as well get some mission credit, and they're probably about to do it here in 2 seconds anyway, so. Going for the odd-eyes meteor burst. In case I have that battle fader. They already have this Transcendence Dragon. But there we go. So yeah, I think that game was potentially winnable. Yeah, I just should have used I should have considered non-engine. I should have thought about droplet in particular. And then, I don't know though, because there is still a case for saving Baron for stuff, not just engine, but like board breakers as well. Although, to be fair, if our opponent had a board breaker that was like Raigeki or Lightning Storm or something, they probably would have led with it. Either way, I should have thought about it a little bit more. Alright, but that is going to go ahead and do it for those games, and I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. This is a nice length of time for a video, so hopefully you enjoyed those games, hopefully you enjoyed this build, and thank you again for watching. Let's move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.